Hello, Wethersfield parents and Board of Education. Excuse me. Oh, that was a stain. It's a little symbol they put on yours. So, Wethersfield Board of Education. There are further people who recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed what they've been doing with the kids and the campuses, and it's also relevant to uses of neighbors and people associated with the people on the board of directors. So we have, in other words, we have the town council meetings. How, in other words, if you don't want me to bring up your personal issues, and what I know about you guys is actually recorded, you shouldn't be spreading fake things because that's part of the problem you guys had with the principal child abuser. And there's also a Brendan Leahy. There are police who are in the process of trying to get him. I need a restraining order against him, and other people will want a restraining order going against him and women in their family involved with drugs and medicines crimes with the kids, including their treatments measured and maintained regarding fentanyl and the reported death of a kid in Hartford with that. Because these are also, they're measuring and maintaining those locations and those schools and the locations next to them involved with identity thefts and frauds. They're also juxtaposed to other motivations, nature's interests, needs, and interests. For example, it's also confessions about debatable things that they want to debate about from strangers and the classmates of other kids, but from other classes. And then they mix that in there where they have the political families and the overt criminal enterprises and hundreds of nations share here and there. And on off the Central Connecticut State University, Trinity College, involved with people from Washington, D.C., like Robert Luskin, former director of the FBI, former standing chairperson on Racketeering Influence and Corrupt Organization Act. There is a Robert Chevalier, his lawyer, who's also one of the ones with many people associated with him and the former director, intercities involved with child abuses of juxtaposed natures too, and uses of the responses to that. Also because of the involvements of other campuses with a vertical and horizontal databases, it's simultaneously unrelated databases and or ones that are private. And the stewards of those people and the overt criminal enterprises with the area kept needing to hide the same sequence shifts, final act of progressive lies together. So at the time, Debbie Gold, a daughter of a former Mayor Gold, was planting evidences by doing little tricks on a campus, where also relevant to where and how they have had the kids of principals and their family members, and then the people associated with them, and with the school boards involved with identity thefts, frauds. Everyone's spreading lies. So at the time where she was pretending to be using legitimate information regarding people involved with criminal enterprises with the area and with private criminal enterprises and with corruption at job sites that has been connected to corruption with campuses, because they needed to hide lie progressions and roles with identity theft, fraud, slanders. Like this Debbie Gold, she pretended to know me and pretended lies with people associated with various natures of federal criminals from various natures of in other words, pension thefts and stuff like that. People like that, people who were simultaneously using the right to lie, like about per election laws where you could lie about your opponent. They've been exploiting exceptions to that and coordinating those lies with identity thefts or frauds against every single person on the schools, individually grouped together. They make people both self-evaluate and counter it wrong, like by countering each other, leaving out what is actually recorded, the influences of men and women from off campuses associated with the ones on and off campuses, then through further motivations, nature's needs, interests. And when they delay response, you guys prevented mandated law offensively as roles when you make an opinion, because the Wethersfield police chief directed his officers. Some of them confessed, but that's like how they, and then they just go like, I'm supposed to do something about it. In other words, they're supposed to get. I've been asking. The only thing I could do, they have to get on paper because they've been forging and switching names. There are a bunch of officers with the name McGee. He also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed roles with people from Central Connecticut State University police forms. These are also people with the FBI, CIA, involved with identity, like a Scalora families. A number of different Scalora families are involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders. Also with the extended family, or as too, the extended family members of houses in my area, and their roles with fire departments and intelligence community relativity and uses of shopping centers, and of the policing, their roles with the policing of stores, and of their roles with databases, where they've been fabricating arrays of opinions and doing tricks with evidence perception to further everyone with the here as identity theft, fraud, slander roles, torture roles, slavery roles. So in other words, too, they still have black and white involved with this, because these are men and women that use a method of that they demonstrate that the people who are insidious and don't care about humanity. For example, black and white, and Native American rights, where how they're forsaken is increasingly valued to discern where and how we are by the breaching method originally and still, with other told in place of itself. And so they're pretending little kids don't have the sense and sensibilities to hear American history properly, while they have been, at the same families pretending that as doctors, they're involved with forcing, tricking, hurting, persuading, all the ways they tell consciously little kids that they show up personally how the opinion natures of our executive branch, political branch, and judicial branch are still criminally foreign influence. Witch trials and slavery, and even Jim Crow, is about how they had criminally foreign influence and measured and maintained responses to it as fact-cheating nature. Also invested self-value collusion with that which is at all locations. The breaching method organized. The breaching method ordered uses of arrays. And towards that theater where also Connecticut News attached me to fake emails. They hid confessions from a principal child abuser, because I caught when there were two Mendez police and two Domain police also involved with a Chris White, involved with identity thefts and frauds with various natures of courts, judges, and their family members, and with a Jennifer social and another social involved with a whole bunch of people involved with that timed identity theft, fraud, slanders, to pretend they knew me and I pretended I was in fake places in the past. As people involved there with a Ray Reynolds and an Eric Jensen with state police of Vermont, and with state police of Connecticut, involved with forensics locations too, with a Joshua Julian, involved with them with the FBI, CIA too, through administrations, and roles with the principal child abusers campus, and uses of the Facebook pages where they're taking collusion with identity thefts and frauds, where they use little tricks too. And they have medical families involved with the schools further, involved with the houses and businesses next to the schools through time. And their family members also forced, tricked, hurt, persuaded to roles, also with the doctors. Now, so this Leahy family has a bunch of other doctors, foreign and domestic, and rolls with this through time. That has something to do with a whole bunch of people with the locations at the corner of South Steen Highway and Town Line Drive, with the foreign and domestic police and Wethersfield police interbranch locations, and locations next to those locations also recorded, relevant to the fact-cheating nature style. In other words, information that are reported, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed that the school board of Wethersfield has been using in the background like regarding my name. There's a somebody Bajerio who stole a speaker box from a guy who was involved with men and women with police who arrested a friend of his, and the men and women he stole it from, also involved with uh, Mike Violet, with people next to the Hartford Hospital, involved with identity thefts, frauds, with overt criminal enterprises, private ones. People I never had classes with. I never had class with Mark Violet. He was recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with military police also, with evidences, crimes, child abuse, identity theft, fraud, slanders, and worse with an O'Brien family. And one of the things that they made up in other words, they have roles with people from Central Connecticut State University. And they're involved now too, further over the last months and before the pandemic, with more Facebook and Wethersfield Police Department and town offices involved with wire crimes, switching names. See, the police officers switching names with child abusers and fabricating emails, and as wire crime roles with the news articles that prevented me free speech too, by attaching me to fake words, specifically as their roles with the furtherance of juxtaposed natures of organized crime and uses of the right to lie where they don't have the right to lie. Also, that theater that the breaching method set up, where it blamed white people for slavery, when there were hundreds of black nations of legal identities with that rat trap game, where that fake justice was pretending to be justice, and with slavery, they still have that. And in other words, and people bring up slavery, they leave out the torture simultaneous to it. They leave out the identity theft, fraud, and slander simultaneously to it. They leave out how nature demonstrates unnatural to evidence. So there's also people, it's something to do with how they have, there are connections to New York City and to Florida, involved with identity theft, frauds, with the people involved with the intelligence community, with the other countries. Afghanistan is also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. Involves, there's a family that lives near me named Jamie Smith and David Smith, and they confirmed without using the name. They were involved with answering the phones for the police. People that answer the phones for the police department in the Wethersfield town offices, where it used to be and where it is now, which is where it used to be in the library, is involved with his mother, with some men and women, including doctors who had roles with some untimely deaths on and off my area, and then on and off Trinity College, and with my neighbors that used to live here. And so, and all the, people I had nothing to do with, and where they pretended me to fake locations and stuff like that and get away with it syntactically because there's people that lived around me. It's an identity theft, fraud, slander method that makes me have to use other people's names, makes other people have to use other names or ignore it. And it makes them pretend they have motivations that are natural, even when they have real reasons. They like or not like someone. Like in other words, they're lying about what their roles with identity theft, fraud, slanders, which actually records. They've been going out of their way with passions and emotions to lie about the nature of relationship between kids, and put people to fake identities of relationship to each other, and put people into fake locations. Even their own kids, they do things that really to help them and then hurt them too, differentially relative to where and how. We have a whole bunch of fake integrity natures who are too much cowards to respond to me for the police forging and switching names. And let me get them to one name too, the private police with the campuses. And in response for this Emmett, there's a guy named Emmett, further involved with doctors, also with badges and guns, involved with planting evidences these ways. Fact-cheating nature, because they were involved with various natures, of course, personally, criminally involved with them. So they are kept, you need to hide from. They are shown, that's how they're used remotely. They are shown needs to hide from and hurt correlation natures, actually inherent active and progressive means. So, for example, CNN, Fox News, and MSNBC, they're irreproachable. They're pretending it's only because they hurt themselves. They're manifest with the constituencies of the parties. Oh, it's this issue. oh, we're gonna treat this issue. We're gonna be doing this issue, voting rights or that. The most important right is the Constitution unabridged. The most important right is sequence true and being allowed to tell when it's not true, told true. That's relative to where they have complete possession over the Wethersfield town offices involved with the election crimes, plural, election locations crimes rather, and where and how they've been using interpretations of the right to lie, leaving out exceptions, leaving out the relativity of exception nature, leaving out the relativity of the identity of simultaneous, of that which is actually simultaneous, actually recorded. So that not by accident they have people pretending to be against prejudice, offensively preventing demonstration of black legal nature roles with that, and of white ones in collusion, and everyone else with their premises treatments, with their treatments of other people's identities, with their treatments of debates and legal issues, because those courts also have recorded criminally foreign influence uses of the physical differences of their bodies involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders with them. Now, how they've been hiding this has been fabricating things with the news relevant to their role since they were kids, with the countries leading up to the World Trade Center attack, in it and since. Then they pretend passions and emotions regarding, they want to have, you don't have anyone who pretends passions and emotions, retired or standing, as the military, as the judicial branch, as the political branch, as the executive branch. The evidences of this are how they prevent mandated law and how they got away with pretending other. That's what's actually recorded. I'm asking you right here to follow mandated law. Why don't you call the police? The police replace what's actually recorded audio video with fabricated audio and video, with other departments and with a police chief years ago, and that Cintron involved with this house here. Now they're trying to involve further this police chief just defending the identities of police, criminally foreign influence ones, in that department. I don't even know the new police chief's name. But there are further officers involved with the FBI and other agencies criminally involved with remote uses of that department, involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders, attaching little kids and themselves to fake and their families to fake conversations with them, fake words, fake ties to other people, fake natures of ties to other people. There were also roles on off Paul Manafort Drive with mayors and with identities of pseudo sophistication, where they know things about the law and about the town that we don't know. But no, in other words, and they look up to the agencies, directors that are recorded, incapable of defending themselves and of affording demonstration of uses of and the relativity of the sequence shifts involved with the logic with the people on Parliament and Ford Drive, CCS, Central Connecticut State University, in a story done by CNN. That was and is involved with people intercities on and off child campuses, having been roles with the on and off campuses relationships where they have the right to lie and train people to be undercover or whatever, or just they said that it's they're involved with studies pretending to be about studying the social reactions and things like that, whatever. They have that involved with identity theft as a motive, pretended, and where and how they have streams going into courts each day. Too, it is relevant to where I caught them on off child campuses and uses of it, and public private schools too. They connect it. So they've been going out of their way to lie about the nature of relationships between kids. And they went out of their way with the girlfriends of the interbranch family members involved with identity thefts, fraud, slanders against me. since I was a kid, as ones criminally foreign influence with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and, and military, foreign and domestic. Kuwaiti military is involved with remote uses of deans and their family members, so their sensibilities. So they have the uses of the sense and sensibilities of the Wethersfield Board of Education and of the directors of the education in the background, because they're being influenced by lawyers associated. There's also it's not clear because they're hiding and plotting, and they're as victim predators. They're being coached to it. So there are people there are mayors that have been reportedly coached by lawyers, executive counsel, whatever, of the FBI. There were proofs that Robert Chevrolet might be one. He's one of the lawyers anyway, criminally, where he's not in legal capacities, honestly, having been roles with the people that were stacking for fake passions and emotions, timed where you can't make a response that won't be used by what they were doing it for. In other words, identity theft, fraud, slanders, lying about what came before that, pretending passions and emotions, and then telling things to teachers. God knows what they put in the record, but what is actually recorded is also a Joshua Julian, who was also with those same people, pretending with the principal child abusers campus, lies about my father being involved with organized crime, and he was quoting a story that was in the news years ago. As himself, Joshua Julian, having been recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with some KKK, Confederate flag themed police or people associated with those people that have been involved with identity theft, fraud, slandering, planting evidences on my street too, making family and with the area, making families fight with each other, and then bringing in the forced mental evaluation on a woman down the street. They made her move. I made it relevant to how they would make her move. They probably owe her a house because there's a Leahy family. There are people from Hartford Hospital involved with various natures of federal crimes, and with state police and other police forms with the Wethersfield police, and with forensics locations that were in the past. Also, so the article brought up, and with the criminality where there were investigators, also with the Joshua, also with people that brought up roles with the principal child abusers campus at the same time as the Joshua Julian was roles with the Facebook police, and the Facebook page of New Britain Superior Court had also been criminally involved with it already, and people involved with the Facebook pages of Trinity College and CCSU recorded and involved with remote uses of the sciences names, individually grouped and together. I never had a conversation with the Johnny Duke's brother, the leader of the educational department at the time. That's not even an exception where I asked someone made me aware of who he was. I don't even know who made me aware of that. That's also one of the things they do at the campuses, and they connect it to where and how they have been using all the campuses criminally foreign influence and shown how need to hide that, and preemptively. And the sequence shifts are relevant because these are the people that are recorded remote uses of Black families, for example, and of their roles with Native Americans, as their roles with identity theft, frauds, out of their way to pretend they know me. I don't know who. I never met a war eagle, and I don't know who Joshua Stryker is. And now, Joshua Stryker and people from Trinity College have roles with the Mashantucket, Pequot, Tribal Nations Police, which is MGM and stuff like that. It's not even them, so it's mixed. And see, these are databases where they're criminally foreign influenced. These are responses to The real cause of negative value nature progressions, acts, and nature is in collusion with them, originally and still. That's part of American history. What motivated that? The youngest person could discern this. So they also have the black family members with involved on off the state. In other words, there's a Enzo Fienza, who's an Italian kid, involved with some mayors and their family members, involved with houses on off this right next to the state judicial branch offices, and on Two Rod Highway where it runs into Hangdog Lane and the Burlington Turnpike. Involved also with places along Route 3, which goes right by the state judicial branch offices too. So he's involved with the house there and other houses there at different times. As I never saw, I don't know him. He went out of his way to pretend to know me, including non-verbally there as confirmation of his roles there. Because when he made all these confessions at once. And regarding his roles with a Dillon family /S or /IES, who was also involved with the various natures of courts and people involved with criminally foreign influence uses of real estate companies. And so, in other words, relevant to their roles. In other words, it's not just on and off the child campuses. Phil Collo is one of the ones further recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. And a bunch of people with the name Christine. But they only told me the name Phil Collo of Bob Chase from a Whiting Forensics place. Again, involved with federal criminals proven after I got out of high school, but involved also having been live progressions and roles with people with overt criminal enterprises and various natures of abuses of the boys and girls, including sexual, that can't be countered until we counter the woman roles with the police and the women judges roles with the police and the other male judges involved criminally with the offensive data and evidence perception racketeering, worse than war crimes, which is what slavery is about, for example. So Wethersfield parents and Wethersfield PTO, just, if you don't want me to speak about your neighbors and things like that, I didn't bring that stuff up. And some of you are pretending I'm holding on to names from the past as a method of pretending I had anything to do with you guys and to exploit exceptions that were made up involved with a child abused you as kids. The Britain Superior Court, Hartford Court says child abused adults that pretend they're adults and they want the world to be sick, fake like them. Because they have adult applied to a sick, fake integrity. Because you guys are not following mandated law. I should be livid. You guys are putting yourselves in other people's business and lying. So if you want to come in your business and pretend you're just because you're curious, whatever like that, get on paper now. Because this has been since before the World Trade Center attack. You guys have been roles interbranch with overt criminal enterprises and private ones as the same people involved since you were kids. Differentially, everywhere I go, involved with the people attaching me to fake words, fake ties to other people, fake natures of ties to other people, as the people involved timed on off the World Trade Center attack locations. And you attach me to fake words about that with the news media, as the military involved with Hartford Hospital, criminally involved with that. With this Leahy family too, and other there's a Dr. Laura Sanders involved with houses next to the schools, involved with juxtaposed natures of organized crime and pretending the crimes are worse if they're next to schools. And those people, that's why we have to realize how they're victim predators. There's a Connecticut family that has people speaking about me through criminally foreign influence. I have nothing to do with them. They tried to make an exception and pretend other. And they also probably pretended other for them. I don't know the Connecticut family. A Dana Connecticut reportedly and a Kevin Connecticut associated with the corner of the corners of the principal child abuser streets. Street and associated with people at Central Connecticut State University involved with former director of the FBI and various natures of courts, judges, and prosecutors involved with identity thefts and frauds with them, and with an O'Brien family on my street. I used to live there. I don't know if they're still associated with the house up the street. They're also involved with how they have all these other countries in the news, involved with them, pretending passions and emotions, preventing people short words to report sequence shifts and fake words that the news media attached us to, and with the military. And in other words, while we're waiting, because they have, in other words, if you guys keep making me wait anymore, that's why that's why your names are gonna be used. That's why I'm gonna, until I get a response. People on the Board of Education. That's why throughout the country, Fox News, MSNBC, CNN have been fighting with each other to make fake arrays and pretend that they don't realize like where and how the criminals and the people trying to counter that are kept needing to hide they're involved criminally foreign influence with data reception, racketeering, motivations of the relevant to their identity theft, fraud, slander, and criminally all kinds of physical delusions simultaneous. Watch when they bring up, they make issues treatments that are delusions, rot, and criminally foreign influence, that's what they call legislation. They came through 6 schools, A through Z. People A through Z, qualities of school A through Z, and collusion. There's a criminally foreign influence human fact treatment nature relevant to this. Follow mandated law for them, and get theory out of the identity of relativity's way, and get theory out of volume science's way, and get theory out of the way of scientific process. Yeah. I teach you here, prepare. I want money for my tooth, too. So there are people from Hartford Hospital associated with this Dr. Brendan Leahy and another Brendan Leahy with EMS, also involved with drugs and medicines crimes with various natures of courts. Connecticut District Court, New Britain Superior Court, a whole bunch of people in the Britain Superior Court involved with federal crimes with doctors and with ones with badges and various natures of police and their friends. And sequence shifts roles with a John Mallon, who I never knew until 1994. No, I heard his name repeated to me. Also with this Joshua Julian. So we have the policing of the schools. We have people involved with the 3 spots at the end of the Berlin Turnpike involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders. Also, per this method that juxtapose other apparent motivations, which are not really even when they are, in other words, even when they are real. Like when kids do things because they're gonna have a motivation, and some of them, these are strangers using other people's names. It's not natural for kids to know other people where they're going to be timed walking, and then further that uses it for the lipoaggressions of the people in cases, using cases, depositions, calling the police. They call the police on other people when they get caught for doing things, like this Tim O'Brien. This Tim O'Brien called the police years ago regarding he heard someone called the police and hung up, or if they call you back. So he called after he had already recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed how his executive branch family was differentially criminally foreign influence to me, and delusions raw, and fake with a flag. That's one of the ways they pretend other, in other words, as victim predators who came through criminally foreign influenced educational systems that are relevant also to the real causes of the shootings. They pretend people make conspiracy theories, are, quote, experts, unquote. So you have to understand how they were painting fake narratives, criminally foreign influence narratives on how to receive history before our founding parents were born. And those identities of abridged sciences were, and having been entertained, were only fact in nature, capable of, and, if they try to be others still, they would be sensed and no legitimate honesty, integrity has spoken for the kids. So they have been coaching the sense and sensibilities of people to pretend things and emotions behind passions and emotions behind my back, uses of my name, pretend they're legitimate, tied to also how they take pictures. They time people walking next to, and then they walking next to people, and then pretend they know them. They try to make exceptions like that. Like there's a Fred Grouget, and there's a Kevin Harris involved with the medical community, involved through time with various natures of organized crime, also with overt criminal enterprises, and people on off Trinity College and CCSU and private and public schools involved with federal crimes with my neighbors. One's gone and still here, and one's in the area tied to them because they also pretend, relevant to identity theft frauds, and they're lying about people's motivations, and where they have conflicts relevant to where and how the police's forms of the courts has sustained, have been, and all tied to them private. These are people involved with criminal actions and roles with courts with their patients and criminals, and against innocent people. They have all kind of methods to hide all the proofs of this by offensively preventing mandated law. So they have connections between they have the roles with uses of this at middle school level, and so and then further at the high school level, and it's from backgrounds where no one's going to be able to give the right response, and so usually people just ignore when other people say things and whatever. They're involved with fact, cheap, nature-oriented predicate acts as wrongdoers. You guys are propagating criminal insidiousness natures through your defenses of, you make descriptions of your feelings too that are juxtaposed with physical delusions while you are offensively preventing writing in response to me. I give you much to respond to. If you disagree with, or if anyone disagrees with anything I said, get me the name of the person who disagrees. Because at New Britain Superior Court, they did all kinds of federal crimes with evidences, roles, confessed, recorded, demonstrated, confirmed. For example, switching sequences, switching arresting officers' names, giving a police report with a charge but no writing. And it has been since before that. So they have those narratives. They've been having roles with police arrests and the numbers of them, pretending it means other than it does. That's relative to how they're letting people out of the courts and out of jail illegitimately simultaneously. For example, that's why, in other words, they have a narrative about, okay, we go from the revolving door, to use the phrase of a New York police commissioner, I believe is a position, or they keep locking people up. See, but what is really happening are criminally foreign influence uses of our ground location, all. And then further on off every age and nature of campus, sustained against Native Americans, against colonists, against America having to start where our founding parents had to leave us cipher/decipher. For example, regarding how they had to hide how they wanted us to get the Constitution unabridged, because per the method had employed everyone's fact, cheap nature at all locations. If you didn't entertain what was criminally foreign influence, fact, cheap nature, and then for roles with the real causes and as the real causes of negative value nature, progressive acts and nature, you would be sensed by the breaching method that had complete possession over the pseudo integrity of the colonies, of their relative already captive sophistication nations, like England doesn't even remember the history of English. We're in a semi-ancient trap. All rap, the species body, the rap has won. Boxing is fun. Who disbelieves? So Hartford Hospital's campus and other campuses, other medical campuses have roles with their patients and criminals and overt criminal enterprises, even people next to body dumping spots that had nothing to do with it, I'm sure, with murders and burying bodies. But those spots are involved through time. There's the Main brothers, the Morrow brothers, Intercities, the Morrow brothers, their family members involved with that body dumping spot, various ways. Fact, should be nature. These are police forms on off Fox Connecticut News in Hartford, involved with identity thefts and frauds, on off WFSB and locations next to them. People associated with some courts, families will court confess, demonstrate, confirm federal crimes with tomorrow police forms, occur police forms, family. I don't know if they're police forms or not, but they're recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed as strangers when I was in middle school. Roles of federal crimes with people associated with Mayor Gold and with the executive police forms, like the O'Brien family and the Smith family involved with federal crimes with them, with the Wethersfield town offices and the campuses. And with these Mendez police, that also attach me to fake conversations, fake ties to themselves, and people tied to themselves like the DeMorrows. Now, these are also rules of wire crimes, falsified police reports where they're switching the narratives of arresting officers, and sometimes they're doing different, Bob Chase was supposed to read a police report to me. He said that a Phil Collo was on the police report. And then instead, the two Mendez brothers colluded with that guy. And on God knows what they put on, because they didn't give me anything to respond to. They just put a charge. And they put me in fake quotes with the Mendez. So on the Wethersfield police, they have Mendez brothers and their family involved with identity thefts and frauds. Also on off the locations next to Fox Connecticut News. And they have policing of a Club Blue roles. They have roles with some people associated with the Club Blue, with federal crimes, criminally foreign influence, with the people with World Trade Center and Intercities. Like there's a Enzo Fienzo also on off the state judicial branch offices. Now these are things also he confirmed on Facebook to me, because the people that are involved with the investigations, investigators that are offensively being used to plant evidences, including fact treatment nature-wise. And then they prevent people from speaking and they make the wrong outcomes in cases. Now, these are roles with remote uses of Congress recorded, self-valued too by themselves. Like, for example, pretending to be against the things that happened on January, at the attack on the Capitol, but while simultaneously self-valuing in other ways. They can't afford mandated law following, and they're only defending narratives that are only the defense of locations, criminally foreign influence, for example, preventing people from reporting acts that are actually recorded, where how men and women offensively abuse kids, and they seek them out knowing their names before they know them. That's part of the child abuses method. It's a whole bunch of people tied to the families associated with Hartford Hospital, the Institute of Living, and mental health care. And as the doctors associated with the campuses, their family members, not by accident, have been involved with various natures of federal crimes and uses of them. And one of the things they have shared commonly are identity theft, fraud, slanders, and pretended passions and emotions with people that all trail back with all live progressions. In that method, that uses campuses where you can't, in other words, they put a Heather Hansen, a Joe DeMorrow, and a Ray Collo in my middle school class. That is, and not in my middle school. I never saw them around the campus on middle school. They put them in a summer school class with me as people recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, were teaching me, as strangers, they were saying other than they were pretending. And the people pretending that we had a nature of relationship to themselves that wasn't at all. I had nothing to do with them. They were in the background involved with fabricating audio and video, wire crimes, mail crimes, identity theft, fraud, slander roles, lie progression cover-up roles, criminally foreign influence uses of Main Street in Old Wethersfield, which used to go right by where the Church Street in Old Wethersfield, which used to go right by where the police station is now. We used to be. And then criminally foreign influence uses of Main Street, all the way from there up Wells Road, all the way to Central Connecticut State University into Britain, and that corner at Wells Road and Walker Hill, and the corner at Wells Road and South Steen Highway. They sought me out with these people to make confessions, demonstrations, recorded confirmations of their roles with a Judge Smith of New Britain Superior Court years ago, with Eric Jensen, a Mike Pandoff, and a Joe DeMauro, and a Ray Claw involved with confessing, demonstrating, recording roles with criminally foreign influence branches of government and people associated with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and worse, like killers, and with physical delusions simultaneously. So it's relevant that we have a means calmly to defend ourselves from you guys too, with physical delusions in the background. You guys don't have honest fears, and where and how you have honest fears, you're using them, like, in other words, you care about your kids. You don't really care about them because you brought yourself into criminally, pretending to know me with the people around you too. And so we have offensively the FBI. We have the people trying to direct them, and they have themselves trying to direct themselves with narratives that are only shaped to keep criminally and foreign influence uses of positives and negatives and identity and exception and exception nature. Exceptions and exception nature, for example, when they make opinions about the economy, there are people still, in other words, the economy never had rights to be criminally foreign influence uses of the ground locations. They're everyone's identity. But our founding parents had to hide their roles, forcing a pseudo-sophistication that was better than one that was complete remote possession of all physical and other locations. So now it's still the complete remote possession of all physical locations, everything like that. But now we have the means to get mandated law followed, the Constitution unabridged. So you guys, if you want to fight with me, say that. Or I mean, not fight. I mean, that's what you want to pretend, some of you. You guys said things like there's and then you mix Christine. So there's some doctors, I don't even know the names of them, associated with a forensics place. They brought a charge against me and fabricated evidences as wire crime rolls with New Britain, Connecticut News, our Connecticut News companies. In articles and with the media and with the internet, they've been projecting a lies and illusion to cover their lie progressions, to cover their roles with predicate acts in legal cases. We have criminally foreign influence justice systems relevant to what slavery was about, relevant to what Jim Crow laws were about, relevant to the counter Jim Crow laws in the possession of that method with the black and white agencies playing the identity game where they're keeping fake sides and they're keeping countries individually grouped and together. Collusion here and there, everywhere, all locations, areas, and states of all countries, criminally foreign influence. Simultaneously, delusions wrought, pretending other, because you had the short words and what is hyper evidential prevented from being understood by yourselves. So you have Dr. Laura Saunders is one of the ones recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with this. Brendan Leahy on the principal child abusers campus. There are also others. There's a doctor Zeman who also sought me out to confess, demonstrate, record. He'd been fabricating audio and video with a Judge Killian involved with federal crimes with kids, sexual too. I'm lying about what's recorded on Facebook with the agencies and the military criminally involved. Further with Hartford Hospital too. So if you don't give me a response, we're gonna talk more about this. You're not hiding behind your roles with this Joshua Julie and the people at Trinity College that have been lying about me with people on my street since they were kids behind my backs. I never had classes with them, no. And that Eric Alvera, I never had anything to do with him in that class. And they influenced the professor of that class criminally against him, but they made him hurt kids. And two, I don't know legal. She was a nice girl. In other words, they lied to her about me and to my brother and to my sister, about me. I don't have a brother. You mothers. No, I'm just kidding, you mother. It rhymes. So, in other words, Wethersfield, you keep bringing more schools into this too with these games. There's a Dr. Graham who brought more judges involved with this. And the forensics location was involved with the confessions. He doesn't realize that, but he brought up the body dumping spot of Billy Grasso involved with the federal crimes. He's involved with evidences and identity thefts and frauds and falsified police reports and worse, on off and child abuse, on off the state judicial branch offices, the Fianza family. They also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed they have business near UPS and near where one of the reported body dumping spots of Billy Grasso, which he said was truly the spot, and his family has roles with that, with the other natures of federal. It has relativity to their roles with federal crimes with the Dillon family of police forms, and Wethersfield and other cities' police has something to do with their roles on and off the state judicial branch offices, and those body dumping spots. Those are also people on and off the body dumping spot of a serial killer with the same instances, roles where and how they stack names too. Like if you go to have an instance with the police, then you go to a court, and then you go there. A whole bunch of names are involved with that, and they make sure to involve all those people offensively to keep the wrong outcome /S writ. So this is relative to where and how they have to hide that, where they are shown, where they have roles with violence. They have violence. People on my street, like with the name Kevin Dillon, and people associated with the Smith family, and with the mothers trying to threaten to kill each other, and the police with gun threats and gun crimes, pretending to be against such too. Christopher Cullen is involved with the intelligence community, and with judges and prosecutors since he was a kid, involved with identity theft, frauds. How they are kept criminally foreign influence is recorded. They're going out of their way to lie to hide lie progressions, and the significance of them. The ones at the grammar school kids, and the kindergartens I went to, and the other school I went to. Even schools I didn't even go to, I know what they're doing next to it. They have a campus of little kids in Cromwell, also involved with this, all kinds of medical corruption, and they're showing, and with the fire departments. See, they have the types of stewards where they have psychology, psychiatry with hundreds of nations individually grouped and together. The people associated with that are the ones that they consider trained. But that training is criminally foreign influence delusions wrought. Still, and that's evidence. So you have to follow mandated law and respond. Otherwise, we have to use your names, and we have to use what is actually recorded by Fox News, MSNBC, and CNN. If you guys don't help, you better someone help regarding Connecticut news. I tried to call them, they wouldn't do anything, and they fabricate audio and video, and they just keep stacking more names and their family members criminally involved, so to use their sense and sensibilities. That's how they get criminally involved. For example, having approached me, having pretended to have communications with me and with my family, people associated with me. They haven't just been doing this to me, but what they do is they force people to respond to things as a group, and the group is only, or as couples or whatever, is not capable of sustained counters to sustained offensive evidence and data reception and identity reception racketeering, title reception racketeering. They don't have a worth as the FBI. That has nothing to do. It's part of why and how they have people that have craziness with groups and things like that. They've been hiding the actual roles with it while needing to pretend other and showing how to get away with it. So they've been hiding and preventing mandated law with other countries like Saudi Arabia, nothing personal against you guys. Italy, it's nothing personal against you guys. Russia, it's nothing personal against you guys. China is nothing personal against you guys. There's a Mike Pandolf and there are some spotted sisters and their brother and their parents. I reported I never had a conversation with their mother or their father. And there are a whole bunch of people associated with their friends and people tied to them intimately, like a Christopher White, who's one of the officers involved with identity thefts and fraud, various natures of federal drugs crimes and guns crimes roles, where they use the right to lie, where they don't have the right to lie, and roles with some uses of black and white families that are involved with identity thefts and frauds, where they prevent people from knowing the names of others who have roles with the courts, fabricating audio and video, speaking fake things into records. Like a Judge Killian is involved with crimes with Facebook with child sex offenders, and with a judge and with a doctor, with a whole bunch of doctors also with physical delusions with them. Now, see, these are disgusting beasts when you put them in actually recorded, and they have their family members and their neighbors involved with this, and their roles with the uses of the media remotely. It has something to do with on-off town line drive, and they have the foreign and domestic involved with there. And in other words, they're trying to. They said that there's a probate court family involved with there's some Delafair family members involved with a Fred Grisette, and with fire departments and with police farms on off Stop and Shop. It was Food Mart before. In other words, the managers of it, like this Jamie Smith and David Smith, involved with the intelligence community. There's also a Brian Bonin involved with people on off a Korean place with identity thefts and frauds and drugs and medicines crimes with Koreans, with the intelligence community, some police forms next to a place associated with Zano families involved with this, next to the also with foreign and domestic doctors of psychology and psychiatry that pretend to be countering addiction, because their roles with identity theft, fraud, fabricating things into databases, spreading lies, fact treatment nature oriented, people fake ties to their family members and their friends with their drugs and things like that. And so they keep playing those games, and people need to react to it. They don't know how to react at each age, and they are shown means and needs to discern, and just shown how to discern role self-value with criminally foreign influence differentially, but increasingly the branches of government and the overt criminal enterprises and the private ones, communicating to a person, for example, when they hear about Native Americans, rights denial, or Black rights denial at the youngest grades, though. Because the same ones that are sick, passions and emotions, roles with the teacher, they could see it coming. They could see it coming in every person sickly distinctly. They heard it, them. They could see it coming where and how there are revelations there. We don't stop. There are revelations. A breaching method denied Native American rights sickly distinctly from the colonists. Then the founding parents counter-tricked, and counter-persuaded everyone to defend a plan that everyone couldn't defend properly, because if they tried to defend it properly as fact-checking nature, they would be discerned and hurt, as we are being today. You have the fake care for Black because we have self-value. The roles with those countering predicate acts that were in collusion as Black leadership of the law, as those intersciences painting those fake criminally foreign influence narratives, pretended integrity as history summaries. History's finite, active, and progressive. Names and qualities of fact treatment nature, positive, negative treatments, truth treatments, facts treatments. So facts finding missions have been offensively used to pretend they didn't realize their roles with offensively evidence reception racketeering, data reception racketeering, morality corruption, pretending other. See, we just need men to the law. We'll go like that. We'll go like that. And we'll fix everything. The whole species body as one. Vaccine is fine. I'll train. So, Wethersfield students, get me a response and find out the name who won't respond, who denies anything I've said. Tell your parents, make sure you get your parents or an adult to respond to me. They use the word adult criminally with some foreign and domestic medical families of psychology, psychiatry, who have been spreading lies and rumors through you kids. And they have roles with various natures of drugs, crimes, including with the fentanyl, where I caught them hiding. You don't have integrity of officers. They're all, okay, we have to go to this call. We have to go to this call. But when they hear, all they care is about what their leadership tells them. They're still criminally foreign influence, the identities of the law. It's a phenomenon that they are physically the law's voices. So they are preventing mandated law. We don't need them to speak for the law. The lawyers have also been like a Trantolo, and Trantolo has been fabricating audio and video, has been rolled with crime methods with the courts and the police forums involved here, and uses of all along Route 3 involved, uses of the locations next to WFSB and other Connecticut news. And he's involved with fabricating audio and video at locations, and has wire crime roles with their fake news stories, and with the courts, with these crime methods of pretending people were harassing others by fabricating audio and video, as their roles preventing people from getting a response, anyone's goddamn name. They tell people to pretend they didn't understand people. They know, for example, Rob Rodriguez brought up the principal child abuser's campus. Other things did too, by other confessions. He's one of the ones who confessed this with people that are also involved with an untimely death on Trinity College. And they attached me to fake writing an email and other email crimes that Connecticut news media and the retired and standing, cops have roles with, and military families. So they want to pretend they have integrity. Now they can't. Now you can't leave. Now, what movie was that in? I forgot what movie that was in, but they brought that movie up too. someone said that to a Rick Faglione. He was supposed like that, and he was in the background pretending they knew me. And before they said that, in other words, has something to do with Kevin Harris and their uses of like colleges and universities and private schools and public schools, where they're putting people as roles with narratives of fake things being put in databases, fake evidences, including fact-cheating nature tricks, to get arrays kept going, arrays in collusion. List, people A through Z, that investigations, criminally foreign influence have been using to hide remote uses of that, to hide from what is actually inherent act of progressive means. I also don't know the person named Clark associated with the Spada family. I mean, with the Scalora family. And the Spada family, they're trying to use their sense and sensibilities. They're also a Ray Cololo asked me a whole bunch of times, repeated in a row, years ago at the reservoir in Wethersfield, if I fooled around with it or slept with one of those girls, one of those sisters. And it has something to do with, all of a sudden I was talking to her on the phone per her. And while we were talking, we started hearing the conversation of her neighbor, who I found out was a boyfriend, a girlfriend of Phil Cololo. And that's one of the houses on Two Rod Highway. And Phil Cololo is one of the people that this Bob Chase said was involved with the police report. And I still haven't gotten a police report to respond to. And that was one of the people also who forced roles with the principal child abuser. And they also have roles with some upskirt and digital pictures of kids. As police forms in courts, families, they're also criminally foreign influence with areas of overt criminal enterprises and private ones, and mixed juxtaposed physical delusions and cliques with these doctors involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders with them too, and their roles next to houses. And their uses of their patients and criminals kept needing to hide lies with them. But they have little tricks like that too. They prevented me from speaking with a black doctor at Hartford Hospital with this. So they're preventing me health care with a whole bunch of other doctors who before that pretend they had conversations with me. And they pulled me away from that conversation. With one of the ones on my street involved with the untimely deaths in the Wethersfield police. Families retired and standing to answer the phones for them, involved with some drugs and medicines crimes and sexual abuses of kids, with people on the child sex offender registry. Their roles with fire departments and with uses of elderly homes criminally involved. Same ones criminally involved with uses of military on off Hartford Hospital. I would not fucking wait to give me a motherfucking response. Marines, who's this motherfucking Kerr? And the fucking these people with these false police reports that are as ones when I was in middle school. I never had anything to do with Joe DeMoro and Mike Kerr in my life. They tried to make one exception with Joe DeMoro on my grammar school. Now there's a one day it was. I don't remember him any other time. There's a Mr. Abruzzi that was also brought up with confessions on Central Connecticut State University leading up to the World Trade Center attack, as their roles with this relevant. So a whole bunch of people that went through programs with police forms and their doctors that are criminally foreign influence, delusions, raw, identity theft, frauds, instances, roles, having gone out of their way to lie about their relationship to other people as strangers, completely like this Joshua Julian, and with people that did that in the past that try to make exceptions, that people that paint arrays of opinions and used criminally by people originally still relevant as the ones involved with the countries in the World Trade Center attack and since with the investigators too. Of course we went to wars. Now these are people also involved with Joshua Stryker with predicate acts with and identity thefts and frauds roles with some Afghanistan families, pretending passions and emotions on and off Wethersfield Police Department, town offices, also rolls with this. Remote roles with inter and intra-campuses, identity thefts and frauds, time methods where you're going to come walking around the corner, all kinds of shit. Excuse me. And these are also people that lived around Trinity College, involved with identity thefts and frauds with the people on my street, like Ray Cole is one of the ones brought up by a officer named Sullivan, a male officer. And then they confirmed it was one of their officers from the Wethersfield town offices. The Wethersfield police did that called up here, but they said he's switching names. They only have a female officer named Sullivan now. And they also have been a bunch of officers switched and used the name McGee as their roles on off the Wethersfield the police department with identity thefts and frauds, switching names with the guy McGee. These are also people recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed with police on off Rocky Hill campuses, further involved criminally foreign influence, and with teachers, the sense and sensibilities of teachers. They have a Luigi Guerrero involved with identity thefts and frauds against me. And having gone out of his way to pretend to know me with the people involved with sequence shifts, with the courts criminally involved, and the police forms, and the judicial families. Forgiveness is to show what has them victim predators. Forgiveness, that requires having mandated laws followed. If they made mistakes, to have them admit it, like men and women proper. You know, if they believe those 6 fake things, they could speak about what's an adult or not. They're fucking out of their minds. Watch what I fucking caught them doing. They fucking don't have, they're fucking, was their child abuse since they were kids. They have people from New Britain Superior Court that were involved with federal crimes at campuses I went to. With men and women, though. Men and women abuse them to force, tricked, or persuaded roles as the ones involved with overt criminal enterprises with the area. So, want to make it worse, keep fucking playing games. Please keep fucking waiting. Don't give me a response from the campuses too. Make them sure I get a fucking response for the campuses or any of the parent-teacher organization. There's Lucinda too. She has fucking faith in the wrong man with that little fucking degenerate fucking creep, coward, fake, lied to her. And now I have to talk like that, and you keep my name out of your fucking kid's mouth, your kids' mouths and minds, Lucinda Kolvinskis, if that's true, you married that fucking creep. And keep that motherfucker on paper too. He better fear God if he's fucking involved with these falsified police reports with no writing. And get the fuck off my name, motherfucker. Because that fucking little creepy motherfucker on off Central Connecticut State University, and I never had a class with him. And he's involved with this O'Brien family and people on off the buildings next to the state capitol with this. So, and with the overt criminal enterprises and people involved with identity theft, fraud, slander, and pretending past emotions with it. So make sure I get a motherfucking response. Excuse my language. I forgot. This is for the kids. It's also they're making people swear because they need to respond to things calmly, and they're preventing it. And they're also because they're lying about your behavior in responses to things that they do that they're allowed to do because they're on the record, but they self-value that increasingly haven't been used as trick means. In other words, they shouldn't be on the record. And they know they've been using their fucking, how they're supposed to deal with instances and present subjects to kids, criminally foreign influence, their delusions raw. These are people, there's a Brendan Leahy who's involved with police forms and as doctors, had been in the background stacking fake things and lies through kids to advance their kids and to hide their lie progressions, because also do things to make them look bad. So because they time things to go before courts where all the kids have to hide the same lie progressions, or they have to keep quiet to defend themselves. Either way, they hurt them. But that's why we're supposed to have the right to remain innocent. They had courts that are only capable of pretending they're legitimate logic, by having to take part with the worst things against people. Same thing with these dumb fucking criminal enterprises voices. Why do you think they're all over there? There's that guy, there's like some Kamal Bell or something like that from CNN going on there with a showing faces. Oh, we'll put the music. We'll show it'll be a good story. Him and the KKK themed guy or whatever. These motherfuckers have the police forms and the training of them with these campuses. The military's got all kinds of roles with a whole bunch of countries with physical delusions, with psychology, psychiatry, all kinds of fucking natures of motivation, criminally foreign influence, fucking uncharged private shit with them. Get them the fuck down. Get them on paper, motherfucker. Get me a response, Marines from Connecticut. Where's this fucking job? What's his name? There's a Schedule family. There's a Rob Schedule and there's a Don Schedule involved with some people on the child sex offender registry, involved with their neighbors, with identity thefts and frauds, where they try to film exceptions. Now there's some FBI motherfuckers involved with them criminally with their neighbors too, like an Ian. The fuck are you, Ian? You fucking scumbag, fucking coward. If that's you who fucking came on Twitter, you fucking coward punk. You would never fucking even think to fucking pretend to be a man on paper. Get the fuck on paper, you fucking scumbag. You fucking pretended to know me, motherfucker? What the fuck are you doing in Middletown? What's that fucking Ian guy on Fox Hill? Is that the guy who fucking came on Twitter and you put an upskirt picture of a fucking girl? I looked at one of the fucking girls that brought up the fucking obscure fucking principal campus to me. Excuse my language. I've been sitting here for an hour. I don't have a fucking anyone seeing my video. If I call the police, they keep fabricating more audio and video, bring more names and family members into it. That's part of the fucking thing, where they have everyone's sense and sensibilities, criminally foreign influence. You follow mandated law for the school. I have not been responded to by the principal child abuser. They're being coached by fucking some police. There are a whole bunch of people tied to a Mike Levine involved further with the principal child abuser's confessions and further on off that location, that Town Line Drive, involved with these places. What's this motherfucker, Mike Levine? You didn't fucking pretend to know me, motherfucker. You didn't have to pretend you had a fucking conversation with me. What's your fucking name? Where the fuck do you work, Mike Levine, motherfucker? And it sounds just like the principal child abuser's name, Jim Bean or whatever. And they have it fucking the kids of other principals involved with stuff like that too. Rick Cianfaglione sought me out with a Kevin Harris. The parents of a Kevin Harris are involved with some drugs and medicines crimes with a Leahy family and with people that fucking put fake things in the databases against me when I was a kid, motherfucker. And with the people on my street. That's from someone from Hangdog Lane, where it runs into Two Rod Highway and Route 3. Here people see, attend. And I don't know the name of the guy from Rocky Hill who they took a picture of me fighting with him at a Mike Roberts house. That's involved with identity thefts and frauds and has something to do with along Route 3. And like where an Arch Pizza used to be, our intelligence community evolved leading up to the World Trade Center attack, and since, as the people involved with those other countries, intercities, haven't been roles with instances with them fake. CT must break. So, also, I don't know this Allegro's Cafe. His neighbors are involved with this, with the Dillon family. And the others with the crimes with the kids on my street, and with how they had the women involved with sexual and medical abuses of Heather Hansen that she self-valued roles with, and then through time, and then as an adult, and she made confessions and things like that to separate subjects because she had roles with federal crimes, with real estate company uses of real estate companies. Her father and mother, Bruce Hansen. I don't know her mother's name, and I don't know her brother's names, but they're also involved with people on off the Cove and other people on Church Street, further involved with doctors that are foreign and domestic, involved with medical crimes and with overt drugs crimes. And they have people associated with Chris Walters, and people on my street said there's a guy named Ken that they've been forcing, tricking, hurting, persuading to roles with them lying to Ken about me at Wells Road. In other words, a mechanic at Wells Road named Ken. I had nothing like hello a couple times. They used him for evidence as crimes. It has something to do with people on my streets rolls with various natures of drugs like cocaine and psychedelics per them as strangers and online. There's a Ray Color who then they pretend to be against such online. And then they're sequence shifting. If they're saying I brought it up, they told on themselves. They do that because they're pretending that I'm telling on them. Because these are the ones who went when they were kids and told on the police about what they brought up. In other words, and they attach everyone to fake words. And that's also recorded. They hid that. They also hid uses of it. I recorded further relative to it. So I didn't know that the Spada family and that my neighbors had roles with this Fred Grisette. I just knew he was involved with what I reported to my school, and they hid. He didn't even go to my school. He was a private school kid. They were trying to establish evidences racketeering with him, identity theft, fraud, slanders with him, pretending it was other motivations. I don't know him. So he's one of the ones next to the Wethersfield High School, involved also with Anthony Agman, involved with some Dr. Dingleberry, Dr. Dewberry, and a Leahy family, with doctors in a Leahy family, and with some other foreign and domestic families involved with various they have everything from acid. No, they're gonna kill kids. You guys are incapable of having countered what's using those crazy drugs that kill people for doing nothing. And they're investing the interbranch family members and the ones tied to them, especially the ones tied to the doctors with badges and their kids, slandering others, attaching others to other locations, pretending they have roles with alcohol that they don't, and stuff like that, trying to set up exceptions. Oh, bullshit. So there's people from Trinity College involved with Mike Pandolf, and with also with a Mike Roberts that my town's police chief has with a Mazzucato family that has been involved with identity thefts and frauds against me, planting evidences with a Mike Roberts, pretending to lying about the nature of relationships between me and tying me to fake ties to that kid. There was a picture of me at the end of a fight with it was like whatever. The kid is involved with the places on Route 3, also per what the people were saying on Facebook, all different names. The people that also they've been making fake Facebook pages pretending to be me and my family. Wethersfield police have roles with that. These are also Wethersfield police recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed with their family members themselves as the co-defendants of former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, in a 2006 district court case, having been roles with the people involved with predicate acts at schools I went to, and as people involved then and now with the principal child abusers campus. You guys are too scared to give me the fucking name of a cop. Have them fucking respond to my language here too, because they've been having kids swear. They've been bad influence on the kids, and relative to where and how they've been preventing people of each age from calmly defending ourselves, and or from getting livid to defend ourselves. And they attach us to fake. And once they do that, they have to hide the lie progressions. So three times Harvard Hospital was used to force me for a mental evaluation. 2 times they totally made up fake things, because the first time I forced, tricked, hurt, and persuaded them to catch themselves. I forced people to call the cops without telling them why, and they painted themselves, because I already caught them before that, painting themselves in the corners in the confessions of their little rats. They admit to it on Facebook, and because they didn't want to be persuaded. Like so then in other words, that's how I know about. That's how I can know. They know it's recorded, where and how he confirmed on Facebook the Enzo Fienza, the confessions of him and his cousin and their girlfriends, and their girlfriends' families involved on and off the state judicial branch offices with overt criminal enterprises and with the neighbors of this Kevin Dillon. There's an Anna Dillon on my street too, criminally involved with him, and people on and off the spots next to Fox Connecticut News and WFSB, Fox in Hartford, and with the Club Blue. They have roles with the owners of the Club Blue. They said he said that Allegro's Cafe is involved with them fabricating audio and video with those people. And slanders, identity theft, fraud, slanders has something to do with a bait florist and a bait. A Dominic Abate is also involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders, all kinds of falsified police reports, roles with the people on and off the corner of Two Route Highway, Town Line Drive. I mean, and Southstein Highway, as people also involved. I don't know him. Dominic Abate, he pretended other online until he sought me out to record, confess, demonstrate, confirm. He was influenced to pretend through other motivations, natures, needs, interests tied to that. He's involved with the intelligence community that is actually criminally foreign influenced. But it's also where and how their delusions wrought, and roles with identity thefts and frauds, and slanders. So they have people involved with him, with some child sex offenders involved with this Dominic Abate, pretending to know me on Facebook, with the Wethersfield police too. We're involved with the courts. The New Britain Superior Court Facebook page is also involved with rape threats. Since before, involved with as methods effectively used to force the principal child abuser. And now because they have people that went to school at Central Connecticut State University that were influenced to roles with various natures of federal rules of evidences crimes and offensive data reception, evidence reception crimes, and extortion, slander. So they've been hiding what's actually recorded. Hartford parents, you should take part with this, because these are the same people intercities on and off the campuses. I caught them involved. You should fear that fentanyl stuff, even if they made it up. I'm not a doctor. You should fear, because they've been the extent of all that associated with how long they've been needing to hide lie progressions and to hide from and hurt everyone's actually recorded inherent active progressive means at all locations. Look how many bad things happen. There are only like 300 something streets in Hartford, Connecticut. Look how many shootings there are. Look how many simultaneously untimely deaths. Narratives are all increasingly roles with the bad things happening too. The investigators, the vetting identities of the investigations of that, all used remotely. So if you do this, I'll help you guys discern things like about how the former director of the FBI is involved with criminally foreign influence uses of downtown Hartford and of locations like near the Harry Beecher Storehouse, Mark Twain House, and on off those locations, as people involved all along Route 3 associated with them. There was a girl who said she was a girlfriend of John Maiano, who was also brought into the federal crimes with the courts and the intelligence community along Route 3. And there are people there are people that live at Century Hills Apartments involved with federal crimes on my street with the Wethersfield police, with their wire crimes, with the name Cololo, confessed, recorded, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with it, and with other people tied to them on that street involved with this, as the intelligence community that is criminally foreign influenced, and as their roles with the uses of their sexual circles and their identity thefts and frauds. tied to those people. I don't know the names of the people. Whoever took the picture of me with that kid years ago, and it wasn't a party. I went there. I was tricked to go there so they could pretend, and so syntactically would pretend like I had been at a party. They went there to fabricate evidences and to slander me because Ray Collo and Joe DeMoro have roles with the FBI and some police and military, and as ones with overt criminal enterprises and private ones, and people on off campuses with a mayor gold, and some O'Brien's police forms family with a sequence shifts, identity thefts and frauds, slanders, lies they told to modern pastries daughters. I never got to meet them. And she walked by me in a Stop and Shop as one of the people involved with the investigators involved with houses on my street with drugs and medicines crimes, as the people that counter such, where they've been using such, where they have a whole bunch of bad things that no one wants to do anything with, and they keep hurting all the boys and girls, and they get them into little cliques where they do bad things and hurt each other with drugs. Then they go to their doctor, and they're all hiding lipoaggressions against other people. Everyone's furthering narratives. There's a telephone game with that D. Simone family. There's also a guy named Britt. They don't tell you, who's involved with federal crimes with some child sex offenders, and doctors with their patients involved with that, involved with crimes with their patients online and on off campuses with their physical delusions too. So Wethersfield parents and Wethersfield Board of Education, make sure I get a response. And for the mayors, I get the name of the lawyer. So was it a Robert Chevrolet involved with the Morin family? There's a Julie Morin who was recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, having been lied to about me by Sal Civiello, also involved with various natures of drugs and medicines crimes, and with the intelligence community on Two-Route Highway, identity thefts and frauds, falsified police reports, roles with some state police and intercities police, like in Newington. The D. Simone's family is also associated with Newington, with this Spada family, though. Eric Jensen said the Spada family is involved with locations near where they live in Dearborn Street in Newington. And like places with his friends, like with a Cololo family, and his roommate is also involved with Newington, has something to do with their roles with identity theft, frauds, instances, pretending passions and emotions too, at the buildings in downtown Hartford. And years distinctly, and there's a Chet Casper who also confirmed non-verbally having been influenced, tricked, hurt, persuaded to roles with identity thefts and frauds against me, to pretend he knew me, as his roles with there's an Edward Poland I also don't know. They recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with the intelligence community, some cops involved with these Mendez police and the Club Blue downtown Hartford, as people involved with some Russians and other countries. They have Ukraine involved. They have with the UPS with this Oliveri family, the Joshua Stryker, spreading lies behind my back since I was a kid. The Oliveri, who was put in a class with me too. There's connections between people who were put in my classes and people, pretending that were trying, that couldn't put themselves on paper, that were brought up through the course of this. You guys brought up a lot of names. You guys spoke a lot of fake things and fake news articles. I'm trying to tell you, make sure I get a response from one of the parents, because these are all the schools in Wethersfield, and these are other schools in other towns. I caught locations next to it and their family members making statements, and then people pretending that I responded too, as ones involved with the remote uses of fire departments. There's an ILO family that also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. There's a former Mayor Gold involved with the fire departments in Hartford next to Trinity College, and involved with other mayors and their kids, involved with identity thefts and frauds with me. Also, as people have been planting evidences on campuses. planting evidences, including fact-sheet nature titles, including a letter and fake emails relevant. So there's an Emmett who is also involved with pretending I sent fake emails. So get a response for the rest of the people involved. And the courts, they didn't give they spoke through other people with confessions and with switching names roles. So make sure I get a response for the courts why they hid this and what they said about me. In other words, besides that which is recorded fake by this Emmett, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with sexual and medical abuses of kids with some doctors and police forms. And while I'm going to show you the integrity of the FBI is not, and the CIA are recorded too, for one of the people you made up, maybe, but they brought that up. The FBI director in his defendant capacities in a 2006 district court case non-verbally confirmed to me that and what his co-defendants verbally and other recorded, confessed, demonstrated to me through time. And then as the Thaddeus Grabowski right before that case, that part of a case /S that was ongoing at the time of my father's death. This Leahy family also attached me with other doctors to fake communications with themselves and about those legal cases and where and how they have roles with federal criminals in those cases proven where they since before they got caught. And they were pretending I was lying. I had conversations with them about these cases because they have roles with the federal criminals in those cases with crimes against me. Identity thefts and frauds instances, roles against me, and with their Anna Dawn LeConte, which is the daughter of one of the federal criminal co-defendants, a former director of the FBI, and one of the ones criminally involved with the Wethersfield town offices, and this Heather Hansen, and with the Pearl of Wethersfield and the other campuses that they've been involved with identity thefts and fraud and sexual abuses of girls, where they have the women intelligence community self-valued roles with the men, where they can't think. Boxing. So make sure that we have a calm means for ourselves and for our kids to defend themselves from these games that are force sustained. They make confessions afterwards too, because to complete confessions they make as strangers, and then you know there's no way to explain it without sounding like you know them. It's an identity theft, fraud, slander method the overt criminal enterprises and sick people have at locations together with our own interbranch. So I don't know Mark Carone and Kevin Carone, and they will tell you that. No, but people at Central Connecticut State University recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed they involved people from my town spreading lies with them and with people at the spots next to the state capitol through time. They have roles with a Capitol grill or something when police forms associated near that with there's a Chuck Casper too. Again, he's identity theft, fraud, slanders, and with his family involved with coaches of teams where they use people in groups, individually, and they spread lies, specifically for evidences, crime roles, self-value. So there's an Edward Poland, and there's a Charlie Bowes. I never had a class with Charlie Bowes. Never saw him around campus. I don't know his sister. I never saw her around campus. A woman who says she's his sister is involved with Old Town Cafe with a Chris Walters, who was a stranger, who was one of the ones who would call me as a complete stranger, make confessions to me and demonstrations about his roles with federal crimes on my street and with people that went to my campuses that used to hang around with him and or with his neighbors too, involved with various natures of, falsified police reports roles with them and with these judges speaking fake things into records with them. As the ones or two, when they were going and telling on the police when they were kids, then they pretend other people are rats. They sequence shift all kind of ways with their crimes on Facebook with the judges and the FBI and the police forums with the Wethersfield police and the private police with the campuses, which is relevant. And these military police fake behind my back with girls that I never had classes from my town. So you invested them little fakes that are now men that can't even, they're too fraud. And they've been telling lies to their kids. They stuck now. Watch the little cowards you have, using the names of the branches of government and all exceptions tied to them.